Okay, there we go. Ready? Okay, here we go. Hi, Amber. Thank you for joining me. Thank you.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. I just got to get it off of my chest first off. The amount of jealousy that runs through my veins that you interviewed Arnold Schwarzenegger.
It was a pretty fun day, not gonna lie.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. But through looking through your YouTube channel and stuff like that, with like press conferences and stuff like that, what is it like when you meet A-list celebrities such as like the cast of the Avengers, where you played like Jenga with them? And do you ever get nervous? And what was your favorite interview?
So I think my favorite interview is probably got to be Arnie. I've been a massive fan of Arnold Schwarzenegger since I was a child. I used to love the Terminator films. My mum's an ex-bodybuilder, so I grew up with her bodybuilding, kind of reading his bodybuilding books, seeing the videos. And so to meet him in person was just amazing. I just think he's an incredible guy. Close second, probably Henry Cavill, just because I'm obsessed with Superman. So that was a really, really cool one.
That's Superman.
Yeah, so I interviewed him twice. I interviewed the cast of Mission Impossible Fallout in Paris, and then the next day in England as well. So the first one was for Real 3D, second one was for my channel, but it was like twice in 2 days. So by the second one, I was like, guys, we're basically best friends. So it was cool. It was nice. We had a bit of a rapport going. Yeah, I think the first one that I ever did, it was Nina Dobrev. Again, grew up watching Vampire Diaries, so I was a big fan. And I remember before walking into the room, I was very nervous because I'd never done anything like that, really. Never really done presenting, never really done interviewing, like I'm an actor. And one day this production company just rang up my manager and said, hey, would Amber like to interview Nina Dobrev? And I'm there like, say yes, say yes. And he said yes. And yeah, the second I walked into the room, the nerves just kind of drop away. Like at the end of the day, they're just humans. And like I sat down and Nina offered me a cup of tea and I was like, what is happening? And it was so relaxed. And I think having my first one with her was so perfect because she made me realize that at the end of the day, they are just normal people, you know, and you can talk to them like normal people and they work like the rest of us. They go to sleep, they snack, they get tired. So I was like, okay, cool. And now I think I'm just kind of used to it, which is nice.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. It's like also to add, I think there's like a connection here because I did a little work on Mission Impossible Fallout. I did a bit of running on the job, and like it was also a bit where like the scene was shot in London, but they faked it to look like Berlin. So I was like, I know what you're up to.
Sneaky.
And, but yeah, exactly.
Sneak. But yeah, there was the moment where like, and I've always thought that like celebrities are just they are normal people. That's it. You know, they're just getting on with their job. But even for when I saw Tom Cruise walking by as I was holding two radiators walking by, I was still kind of like...
I mean, there is still a part of you that's like, oh wait, it's Tom. And then you're like, oh, it's fine. He's a normal person. But for that split second, you're like, oh my God, it's Tom Cruise. It's not just you, don't worry. It's all of us.
That's awesome. And also as well, like looking into moving on to a little bit of your more personal side, you have a degree in theoretical physics.
I do, yeah. I'm a massive science geek.
That's awesome. So could you explore the change from studying that and to becoming an actress, and how did you get your start in the acting industry?
Yeah, so it's a bit strange because it was always my plan. So my plan as an 18-year-old, it makes sense, trust me, go with the story and you'll get it because it's very strange. So I remember being at school and I've always known that I wanted to be an actress. Like since I was a child, I did like the Nativity play, I think was my first acting role. And I was like, no, I'm destined for acting. This is like my thing. And I do like pantomimes at school and theatre shows. And I just feel most comfortable when I'm like, on stage or entertaining. Like a lot of what I do online is comedy and it's just that's when I'm in my element. Yeah. It's like, you know what I mean? So my plan was always to do acting. Both my parents are self-employed and I never wanted to borrow money for them and I knew how expensive acting school was. So I created this plan as a teenager, which looking back I'm like, that was pretty decent thinking of me as a teen because normally I'd be like, oh, I want to save my money for the cinema. Anyway, so my plan was go to university, study theoretical physics, get my degree, go into banking, be an FX trader for like 4 to 5 years, earn enough money to basically retire, fund myself to go through drama school and then act full time. And because I'd have the money from my job, I wouldn't have to like waitress or do other jobs. I could just focus on acting. And I remember thinking this is like such a great plan. But like most great plans, it didn't happen. So I always happens.
Always
It's always
the
the way,
best.
Jay. So I went to uni, graduated, and in my last 6 months at university, I'd started doing some acting bits and bobs anyway, just like short films here or there, student films, music videos, and I started making videos online. So they went kind of, you could say they went quite viral. I had like 1 billion views in 6 months, I think it was, which is crazy. Yeah, it was mad, absolute madness. Even now, like trying to get my head around it is a bit crazy. So the day I graduated, made my Facebook page, made like my IMDb page, all of that. Decided to be an influencer full time as my like paying job, realizing, well, I'm self-employed, you know, instead of doing this whole banking thing, being an influencer does play pretty well. So I can do this. It still allows me to create my own content, like comedy sketches. It's acting. I'm acting every day. And it gives me the freedom to then also do acting training. So whilst I've been doing that, I've trained at RADA, I've trained at like the Beverly Hills Playhouse in LA. So I'm a big believer in fate. And I think even though my original plan didn't go perfectly, like it's kind of moved around a bit, but I'm still where I want to be, which is good. Yeah.
That's so cool. No, well, now we get part of Lindsay in the Seven. Did director Richard Carlton have a particular style of when directing you, or any techniques that was most, and what was most important lesson you took away after completing the film?
Yeah, so I think the most important lesson that I took away, it isn't really a lesson, it's just a realization. So the Seven, so I graduated in 2016 in August, and I'd say my first acting role was probably January 2016. So the Seven was 2018 in March. So I'd only been doing it kind of part-time for 2 years alongside presenting and influencing. So I wasn't super experienced, right? And this was my first lead role in a feature film, which normally it takes like 10 years to get there. So I was terrified. I was the only one that hadn't done like a full 3 years at drama school. They'd all had leads in features, and I was there like terrified. And I remember on the first day, Rich sat me down, like throughout the audition process and everything, he was so great. And he never made me feel like I was the odd one out. Like I always felt so included. And I remember he sat me down and he was like, look, I know that everyone else is at drama school, but like you were cast for a reason. Like you're good. Don't let it get to your head thinking, oh, well, everyone else is trained and I haven't trained in this, and this. And he was like, you're here because you're good. And he was like, just embrace that. I know what you can do with character. So the biggest thing that I took away is that just be secure of yourself. Like if you get cast in a role, it's because you're the best person for that role. Even if you think you might not be experienced enough or have enough training, they pick you for a reason. So for me, now if I go for an audition and I don't get a role, instead of beating myself up like I used to, I just have this realization, like maybe I didn't have the right look. Maybe my accent's wrong, you know, maybe they wanted someone a bit taller. So that I think is there's probably some advice that I would have given to myself earlier in my career as well. Don't take it so personally. Everything happens for a reason. The other thing would be that your cast and crew are like family. So we shot for about 16 days. I think it was back to back. It was like 18-hour days.
That was quite a quick turnaround. Wow. Yeah.
So quick. It was brutal, but in like the best way. I say it and I'm like, no, I mean it in a good way. But you're eating, you're sleeping, you're working all in the same environment as all of your cast and crew. And we went from being complete strangers to literally being such a close-knit family. And I just have this massive appreciation for everyone, like the extras, the runners, the crew, the cast, everyone now. We just have this amazing connection. And I think that's one of my favorite things from doing that film. It's the friends that you make, which I never really expected, to be honest, because I hadn't been in that situation. But biggest takeaway, directors know what they're doing. They're amazing. Richard, if you can work with him, he's fab. And yeah, cast and crew, just have a lot of respect for them and a lot of time with them because they'll be your family.
Yeah, definitely. I think like the biggest thing I could take away from what you just said is like the motivation that he built up for you. So I think that's a really cool thing because, again, as you said, it's the director. It's in their hands to make sure everything works properly. And I think it's awesome that he, again, gave you that motivation to really bring that character to life. Because like when I watched the film, you know, with not to spoil much, but the sexual orientation, like when she comes out to her friend and everything in that close knit closet, you know, that must have been like a tough thing to express in a performance like that. But I think you really handled it amazingly well.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. No, it was a really good performance to watch. It was awesome.
Thank you so much. This is really nice. It's like the little ego boost I needed on a Saturday.
You're welcome. I'm getting paid every minute. No, I'm not.
I'm not getting paid a penny. No.
So also looking through your YouTube channel as well, when you was invited to the set of Charlie's Angels, I think it was last year or the year before, right?
It wasn't last year, it was the year before. It was 2018, I believe, in October.
Yes, yeah, that's it. And I was just going to ask you about, like, when you take your experience with the Seven, and you know where it's lower budget and everything, and I suppose a little bit more confined, and when you compare that with that experience you had with Charlie's Angels, what differences did you see, and your feelings on the set? What did you feel on that?
So it was completely different because the Seven, I was there purely as an actress, whereas Charlie's Angels, I was there as an influencer. So Sony flew me out. I was literally in Germany for, it was something crazy. It was like 17 hours. Flew in straight to the set, did my bits, and then flew back home. And the whole purpose, it was to be an extra in one of the scenes, but it was to meet Elizabeth Banks, who wrote it, directed it, starred in it, and to meet the three angels. So Naomi Scott, Ella Balinska, and Kristen Stewart. So the whole purpose was, from an influencer point of view, me getting some great coverage, meeting the girls, you know, doing some fun interviews with them, whereas the Seven was just an acting job. So from an acting perspective, I didn't do much acting there, but obviously the sets are very different. I mean, when you do an independent feature like the Seven, it's fantastic, and what they do for the budget, it's incredible. But I mean, Charlie's Angels is like multi-million-dollar production. Like, they've got Elizabeth Banks, they've got some of the biggest names in the world. Like, they can do what they want. They rented out this like massive castle. And I was like, we shot the Seven in a school in Essex. This was in a castle in Germany, so they're a bit different. But it was, at the end of the day, when you break it down, it's everyone treats each other the same, whether it's big budget or it isn't big budget. Like, people just want to do their jobs, and everyone's passionate about what they do, which is good. But obviously there are differences when you step up the budget that much, because that was a big budget production.
Yeah, exactly. It was, and it looked like you had a lot of experience on that set as well. And I mean, did you get a little chance to talk with Elizabeth Banks about her methods and everything like that?
Yeah, so it was pretty brief. We had more time to chat with the Angels, which was nice because the group of influencers, they were all German and I was the only English one. So the second I started talking to them and they spotted my accent, they were like, oh my God, you're from England. And then it turns out where I live, they used to live, and Ellie used to work around there. So we had this like really lovely chat, which was nice. So I had so many questions I wanted to ask them about acting, and we just ended up having like a good old chit chat, which was nice. And it was the same with Elizabeth, really. So the scene that we were in, she was kind of directing us on the scene, which it was interesting to see how she's directing it because she's also in that scene. So it's like she's not just basically directing herself, it's how everyone's interacting. And I hadn't seen someone direct and act on such a high level before, and it was fascinating, like the amount of things that she was thinking of. And she'll be having a conversation with you, someone will be talking over there, she'll be like, 1 second, talk to them, come back, and I'm like, this woman is so intelligent, like how is she doing like 6 roles at once? She just blew me away. I was just stood there in awe, like, can you adopt me, just teach me your ways, please?
Right, so also speaking about, I hope you've been doing well with all this coronavirus situation and everything like that, but I also wanted to know, in terms of creativity and everything like that, how have you found the motivation to keep being creative throughout this whole time? And, you know, and like, how has it affected you?
Yeah, so I think it's been weird. Everyone keeps asking me this, and all I can say, first of all, is lockdown is so strange. I feel like I'm living in some weird post-apocalyptic thriller that I should be watching in the cinema with some popcorn. It's real life, Jay. What's happening? And it's so weird. I remember the first few days, because I live in London normally by myself. My parents live in York, and I'd just done a stage combat workshop on the 20th, I think it was. Got back to London, and my parents said, right, you don't really know what's going on because you've been in your little stage combat bubble, but this is getting serious. We think the country's going to go into lockdown. You need to come home. And I was like, no, it's fine. And then something clicked in my head and I was like, actually, no, this is serious. So I got up to York, and then I think the lockdown was officially like initiated on the 23rd. So I got out just in time. So it's been different for me because the last 6 years, like I work 24/7. I haven't had a day off since when I was at university, so since 2016. So to go from that constantly being at events, presenting, acting, like I'm used to being on set every day. So to go from that to then be at my parents' house, like in the middle of the countryside, it's very different. It's very different. And it took a while to get used to, not gonna lie. The first few days, 4 or 5 days, I may or may not have just binge watched Netflix, okay?
We're all guilty of this.
We all do, right? People say, oh, I'm so productive, I'm learning a language. Like, no, Karen, you're at home watching Netflix. We all know the truth. So at the beginning, like the first week, I don't think I quite understood the severity, and I was kind of treating it like some time off, which was much needed because normally I'll have a few days off around Christmas, but aside from that, they're still not even really days off. I'm still creating content.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then I think after a week is when it hit me, and I was like, no, this is the new normal. And yeah, it's been difficult with the motivation, because normally you're not just stuck in one house, you know, like you can go out and about, you can meet friends and family, and going to the events, seeing films in the cinema, meeting people is what kind of inspires me. So to have that taken away, to then be stuck in like however many rooms are in your house, it's weird. And it's taken some getting used to, but I think as the weeks have passed, I have kind of dealt with it in my own way. So at first I wasn't creating too much content, and now like on TikTok I'm posting a video every day. On Instagram I'm trying to post like every couple of days, daily stories. So I have found my motivation again. As I said, I think it's just finding the new normal. Once now I've got used to it, I'm in a habit, and it's fine. It was just getting to that point that was a bit of a struggle.
Just to cap off everything, basically we were talking about like influence and everything, but what advice would you give to people trying to make it into the industry? And also as well, just as a nice last thing, what advice would you give to your younger self, whether it be to make it in the industry or for your personal life? And I promise, for not making any notes for making it into the industry, I promise I won't make any notes at all.
If my advice helped you, take it, Jay. You can be acting on set with me. I don't have a problem with that.
Hire me.
I would if I could. When this is all back to normal, let's do it.
No, but yeah, so what advice would you give? Yeah.
So I think my advice for people getting into the industry would probably be the same thing that I would tell myself when I was younger. A few different things. One, you have to have incredibly thick skin. I think in life generally, but especially if you're in a creative industry, as an actor, presenter, musician, but especially as an influencer. Like as soon as you have a following, whether it's 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, like I have 3 million followers online, and that's a lot of people, and you can't expect that many people to be positive all the time. It's not how it works. With that following, you have a responsibility, but you're also going to get some haters. And the thing is, I've got this whole story about haters. I'll keep it very, very short because I know I've been waffling. Everyone, no matter what you do, even people like Ronaldo or George Clooney, complete opposites, but you'll get my drift. Everyone gets haters when you have a following, just because whether it stems down to jealousy or just people looking at what you have and thinking, you know, maybe it's not even jealousy, maybe I should have that. Why do they have that? And I remember very early on when I first started the whole like influencer thing, someone left a really nasty comment on a video. And I responded, not being mean, just saying, hey, what's up? And they were like, what? And I was like, what's up? What's going on? Like, there's obviously something going on for you to comment this. Like, just let's just have a chat. And they were so confused. They were like, what's your aim? And I was like, no, just come on, have a chat with me. Like, you've commented this, what is going on? And I must have spent like an hour and a half chatting with this guy. And he was like being bullied at school, and he was going through like a horrible time, like an awful time. And he just wanted to comment on people's videos online because like his username, I can't remember what it was. It's probably like Badman69 or something. You know what kids are like. And he said like, literally, sup fam. God, no one ever wants to hear me do that again. And and he was like,
I'm from Essex, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. He was like, yeah, when I like log on online, I can comment on people's videos and they don't know it's me, and it makes me feel like I have some power, which I don't have at school when I'm being bullied. And I was like, oh my God, like I understand online trolling. I get it now. And I was like, well, look, if you've got like issues, just message me. I'll try and respond. If I can't, just use me as like someone to vent to. And I think from that moment on, it helps me get thicker skin, but it also helped me understand. So you need to have thick skin, but this is kind of a wider thing. Always try and see both sides of any conversation or any problem. And this is what I would tell my younger self, regardless of whatever industry you're in. If you're having an argument with someone or someone's being mean to you online, just put yourself in their footsteps and think, what's really going on? Like if you're in an acting set, for example, and an actor's doing something a bit differently and it's causing friction, just think, okay, why are they doing this? Get to the bottom of it. And I can guarantee you, like, 50% of the time it will work. No, a bit more than that, but
time it works every time.
Literally, Anchorman. Yes, I love that you got that
reference.
Yes,
you got it.
I was gonna say it, and I was like, if you don't get this reference, I will cry. So thank you for saying that. So yeah, sorry, I will sum this up super fast. But my advice: have thick skin. Believe in yourself and be consistent. If you want to do the whole influencer side, you can't post like once a year. It has to be consistent. Everyone's different, whether it's once a week, once a day. Figure out what works for you, figure out your genre, and just keep at it and believe in yourself.
That's awesome. And a lovely thumbs up. I'm going to take these questions that I wrote to you earlier, screw them up, because that's what we call an interview done.
Woo!
And it went in the bin. Awesome. But yes, thank you, Amber, for joining me. It's been an absolute great experience for a first ever interview I've ever done.
Oh, you were saying, oh my god, this is your first ever interview. You did great.
First ever interview. I'm normally, it's so...
No, seriously, bro, you did good. You did good.
But yeah, no, it's been great. And again, I wish you all the luck. Your talent is amazing. And yeah, it's been great talking to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jay. You too. Thank you so much for having me on. And seriously, you've done such a good job. Like, I forgot this was your first interview. You fooled me. Okay, so you're doing a good job there.
Thank you. You got that? We got that? I got that. Thank you.
Guys, hire him again.
Thank you very much.
No worries. Thanks, Jay.